5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Action.
Our Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, we are most delighted to have you on this conversation.
Glad to have you too, my friends and brothers from Digivision.
Thank you, my Honorable Minister.
It is my pleasure, my brother Hilary.
It's been 3 years of transformative leadership as the supervising minister of the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. There have been moments that have looked very daunting. Sometimes it's been like flying a very convenient flag. From your point of view as minister, how has the journey been so far?
Interesting. I begin by expressing my gratitude to the Almighty for giving us the opportunity to serve our country in this capacity. Then to my principal, President Muhammadu Buhari, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for the opportunity to serve my country. Today, as you said, is 3 years, though 3 years, 1 month and 1 day again. The journey has been a challenging one, and I am thankful for that, because any journey that is anticipated to be successful must be a challenging one. We have encountered many challenges, but yet we are able to address them effectively and take the sector to greater heights. As you all know, secondly, this office is an experience for me. The experience we have gathered at this level, there is no way you can get it somewhere else. One may spend 50 years, 60 years in the sector without gathering the experience. Your eyes every day see new things. Your ears hear many things. So this trip for 3 years, 1 month and 1 day has been a challenging one, but very successful indeed. If you look at all the indices, there is no any place where you will discover that yesterday was better than today. There is no place. So if you look at all the indices, broadband penetration, digital skills, contribution to gross domestic product, VAT, many more, in all the places you will see we are going higher and higher by the day.
We say congratulations, my Honorable Minister. Oftentimes when political appointees take office, they take time to settle down, to study, to look at things, and sometimes are very bureaucratic. You were appointed, I think, in August 2019, and by October, just about 3 months afterwards, you began your positive disruption of the ministry's mandate to encompass digital economy. What was your conviction?
Firstly, most probably the main reason why I settled down immediately, or let me say the main reasons, could be many. Number one, my background. This is my area. My Bachelor of Technology degree is in computer science. My MSc is in computer science. And I obtained another MBA in technology management. And also my PhD is in computer information systems. And from 2003 to date, at least 19 years, all my life is within ICT and the digital economy sector. Throughout my life is within this. So most probably that should be number one reason. Number two, when you are passionate about what you do, it is easier for you to settle down and hit the ground running. There is no doubt I'm so passionate about digital economy, and I'm also very passionate about my country, Nigeria. The third reason could be age advantage. And I discover that people that are energetic within our age bracket, with a little guidance and support, they will be able to make the difference. We work sometimes 18 hours daily. I can hardly sleep for 60 minutes in my life without stopping, replying to official mails, and I will go back to my bed if the need requires. If most of my aides know that the maximum time it takes me to respond to an official mail 24/7 usually is 30 minutes. Even at night, by 2 a.m., if you send by 2:30 a.m., I will reply you. If you send by 3:30 a.m., I will be able to reply you. So what we can do because of that advantage of age, if you are outside that age bracket, definitely it is not easy for one to be very active the way we are. So most probably age is another factor. Number 4, which should not in any way be undermined, is the support of our principal, President Muhammadu Buhari. He gives us the support we need, almost 100%. Any issue I take to him, what I need to do is only to convince him that this is for national interest and this is important to the sector. As long as I'm able to convince him, President will immediately approve. Most probably, these 4 reasons will be at the forefront. Number 1, our background, educational background. Number 2, our experience, the years we have spent in the sector. Number 3, our age advantage. Number 4, the support of our boss, our president. And number 5, as I said, is we are passionate about what we do. If you are passionate, it is easier for you to be successful. That is why I was appointed on 21st August 2019. By 17 October, I have written a proposal to Mr. President. He has asked me to come and defend, and I have defended it. And by 17 October, the entire mandate of the ministry has been reshuffled and redesignated, and we converted it to the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. And the main reason why we brought digital economy is the fact that if you say Federal Ministry of Communications, what I inherited, it doesn't give full meaning and the purpose of the ministry. But if you say communications and digital economy, these 3 key words will define the role of the ministry and the sector. The first word is communications. 2, digital, which is an adjective. 3, economy. So if you see, communications is what? Is the channel. It's only the channel, the route. Digital is the content that is passing through that channel of communications. Economy is what you want to achieve. So the 3 words are interwoven. You use communication channel, you pass digital content to develop the economy of your country.
Absolutely.
So this is in summary why it is. And professionally also, there is no any international organization that based on global best practice that advise you to have just Ministry of Communications, the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. At that time, many developed countries had ministers of digital economy. In Scotland, in European Union, they have what they call Minister of Digital Economy, and in so many international organizations. So ICT trend is changing. The current and modern trend is digital economy.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Minister. In your supervision of the ministry, you have caused a lot of heads to wag with your administrative style and processes. Some instances very clearly abound, like the name-SIM linkage enrollment, like the 5G auctioning at the time it was done, like the recent NIDA startup bill, the establishment of the the Nigerian Data Protection Board itself. How do you deal with some of the public outcry and stakeholders backlash and some of the effects of your policy moves?
Firstly, I'm not intimidated whatsoever by any reaction, and that is my nature. The main reason why I'm not intimidated, firstly, I don't take decision alone. I value stakeholder consultation, citizens consultation, and many more. Any decision I take, you will discover that most probably I spend a year making consultations, comparing notes with other expert stakeholders, industry players, government officials, academia, and many more. If you take decision alone without critical review, you will regret, but I don't do that. In all this what you have mentioned, it took me time to consult stakeholders, to convince myself and strongly agree that this is 100% good for the country. So consultation is key. 2, I don't take decisions that I'm in doubt. Sometimes I even pilot some of the initiatives to be convinced that this is good for Nigeria and Nigerians. And number 3, I don't operate in isolation. I always look at the global best practice in whatever I do. For example, what you have mentioned, NIN and SIM registration, firstly, it is not even our policy. The policy was introduced since 2011, but because of the intimidation, other ministers and government officials did not implement because it was not easy.
Yes.
I received so many threats in my life, so many intimidation, insult, character assassination, and many because of this. But because I know it's good for Nigeria, I have no any problem. I allow everybody to do whatever he wishes. I have no problem as long as what I plan to do is good for the country. Nigeria's startup bill, when the issue came up, our approach was even organic approach. I did not start it from top to bottom. What I said, let us allow our young innovators to formulate the challenges they have when it comes to providing the enabling environment for them. So the whole idea based on my approach is organic approach. It commenced from bottom up. So they started it from organizing stakeholder engagement, public discussion in each and every zone in Nigeria, 6 zones. From that, we brought stakeholders together, we reviewed the input, and we come up with the bill. And I presented the bill before the Federal Executive Council. It was approved and sent to the National Assembly, and I went to the National Assembly and I defended it. And now they have transmitted it to Mr. President. So you see, the approach is organic. We allow the young innovators operating in Nigeria, our startups, to identify the challenges and forward to government. This is what we did. So we allow them, you are the players in the startup community. Tell us what you need government to do. So we didn't do anything. Only what they brought forward is what I formulated as the bill in collaboration with the Office of the Chief of Staff to Mr. President. We did that work, and I presented before the First Executive Council, and it was approved. Why? Because I am currently not in the startup community, but I only supervise the startup community. So people that are players there are supposed to tell me what is their problem. And this is what we did. Data Protection Bureau, that is the global best practice. You know the EU Data Protection Regulation. And I earlier approved the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation while I was in NIDA in January 2019. So now we integrated that regulation to have a full-blown bureau, Nigeria Data Protection Bureau, to ensure that the citizens' data and information remain confidential. That is what is important.
We'll come back to that, but as a quick follow-up to some of the things.
And they want to see the success of each other. If you have these qualities of trust, respect, and willing to see the success of each, you will be able to have a teamwork. In addition to caring, if you are a team member, you should care for your colleagues. This is what I did in order to ensure that they work together. I try to make sure they trust each other, they respect each other, and they care for each other, they respect each other, they trust each other, and they are willing to see the success of each other. By doing that, you will see there is no any enmity, rivalry that used to exist. I don't have that problem anymore now. And they come to me and confirm that the situation was terrible between NIDA and Galaxy There was a time that they were not even talking to each other under the same ministry. This is what I inherited. For example, between NIDA and NCC, NIDA and Galaxy, no any relationship. But today, recently, even the secretary of USPF came to me saying that, I was surprised. I now visit NIDA just like my family house, no any tension. But before, he said it was not like that. So how can you develop the sector while the parastatals to implement the policy are not even respecting each other? They are even frustrating the effort of each other. So what I did is to bring them together to act like friends and brothers, and to have these qualities of caring, respect, trust, and willing to see the success of one another. This is in summary what we did, and it has been very effective.
Very commendable, my Honorable Minister, and that takes me to the next question, specifically at some parastatals, because you referenced the fact that when you came, some of the parastatals were as good as moribund. Let's take, for example, NIPOST under you has been unbundled to deliver banking and insurance services, property and logistics, transportations, and you suspended the cash transactions across its operations nationwide. These are very, very daring moves.
Thank you.
Have these initiatives been implemented to a large extent?
I think they are being implemented, all what you have mentioned. Firstly, I think I have more challenges in NIPOS than any other places. Firstly, because of the total number of their staff. As of today, they have over 13,000 staff all over the country. Two, because of lack of funding. It's one of the government institutions that are underfunded. However, I have achieved a lot, but yet not enough. Number three, looking at the total number of their offices and their properties all over the country, NIPOST has over 2,000 offices and properties all over Nigeria. So managing this without funding is indeed a very difficult one. However, I don't give excuse. In any situation I find myself, I will continue to move forward. In any situation, and we have been moving forward. These companies you have mentioned, two of them have been inaugurated and they are working today. Number one, NIPOS Property and Development Company. Today, they are functioning. Two, NIPOS Transport and Logistic Company. This is also operational. The third one, which is NIPOS Microfinance Bank, is in the pipeline, but the first two are operational. And NIPOS Logistic and Transport Company, even recently, maybe you have seen some of my images driving a truck. This is part of our initiatives. Government has no money to purchase trucks for them, but through private-public partnership, we were able to obtain so that we will use them to convey mails and many more. And NIPOS is into e-commerce. And most importantly, we are in the process of unbundling NIPOS regulator from NIPOS operator, because you cannot allow a regulator to be the same operator. This is what I inherited.
Yes.
You cannot be the regulator of the sector and also a player. There will be no fairness and justice.
So how soon are we seeing NIPOS bill passing through?
So you see, it is a matter of bill. It is not in my hand, but the National Assembly. But I'm always in touch with them, following up and also lobbying them to approve it as early as they can. They did initially and transmitted to Mr. President, but we discovered some key areas that require amendment, and President sent it back to them to amend the areas. This is only what we await.
Minister, it's always a very big challenge having you on set and doing justice to some of the concerns.
Yeah.
But if you spare me a few more minutes, the public sector, the civil service is a very Herculean one to work with. What's your major headache working with civil servants and the private sector to deliver on your mandate?
To be fair with you, working with the civil servants, even though some of them are very productive and effective, yet it is one of my major challenges in public office. What you will be surprised to know, as a minister, I have no power to employ any staff of my ministry. If I discover you have the talent to support me, I don't have power. all our staff are being employed by the office of the head of the civil service of the Federation. Secondly, the second challenge, you may identify some brilliant ones and you try to develop their capacity and make them effective. In the course of doing that, or after achieving that, they will be transferred to another ministry. You'll only see a letter, you'll not even be consulted. You will see a letter saying that he has been transferred from Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy to Ministry of Science and Tech, for example, or to Ministry of Health. This is what happened. Recently, last year, I developed the capacity of some of them. Some of them even partook in a challenge under the head of the civil service office, and they won first position in Nigeria. And we developed their capacity. At the end, they disappeared. So, and nobody will consult you. You are not even contacted that want to take them. Number three, most of them are not reporting to you. They report to permanent secretary. Even director is not reporting to you. He's only reporting to the permanent secretary, not to you.
Yes.
Number four, in addition to that, as a minister, you have no power to punish anybody. Whatever he does, you have no power. You can only say, PAMSEC, this is your staff has done. So the relationship with the staff of the ministry is just like our relationship with the staff of other parastatals. We only deal with the CEOs. So I'm only dealing with the permanent secretary. I'm not dealing with them. As a minister, whatever they do, you don't know. They will go and meet in the tenders board and approve contract. You are neither a chairman nor a member. I don't even know what is happening. I'm not in charge of the finance, for example, of the ministry. The whole finance is under a permanent secretary. You don't even know what is happening. So the way you don't manage the fund of NIDA or Galaxy or any other parastatal is the same way you don't manage the finance of your ministry. They can approve the whole contract for 1 year. Only what they may wish to do is to bring you, this is what we have done. You may wish to concur, but not approve. The approval is their own.
Honorable Minister,
so that is why usually you will discover that minister is a very high position constitutionally.
yes,
Section 147 and 148, because you are exercising the power of President Buhari or your president, any president maybe. But in real sense, that power is in the Federal Executive Council, where Mr. President happens to be the chair, where we meet on Wednesdays and deliberate. But in our ministries, this is our situation. We only formulate policy and give them to implement the same with other parastatals. But they are not in any way reporting to us. And ministers cannot punish any staff of their ministry. Only what you can do is to either direct PAMSEC to do or to send it to the head of the civil service
yes.
and give you advice. They may wish to take the advice and they may wish not to.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, thank you so much. We wind down the conversation because of time, but let me just ask before we call it a wrap.
Maybe you have additional 3 minutes to 4.
Thank you, my Honorable Minister, sir. So today you have, to a reasonable extent, be able to redefine the ministry, set new heights, and of course achievement. How proud are you with tech development generally in Nigeria? And is there anything you would have wished the industry to achieve even much more?
Firstly, my brother Hilary, I'm a very fulfilled person. What is most important for ministers is to formulate policies for the sector to be successful. When I became a minister, I inherited only one national policy. And that one national policy was not even developed by the ministry, but was developed by the Korean government to support Nigeria. Today, we have 19 national policies, and all of them are being implemented. This has never happened in the history of Nigeria. 19 national policies, and all of them are being implemented. From National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy for a Digital Nigeria, roadmap for the implementation of National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy. For example, number 3, like Nigerian National Broadband Plan. Number 4, National Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship Policy, which has been replaced now by Nigeria Startup Bill. Number 5, for example, National Policy for the Promotion of Indigenous Content in the Telecommunication Sector. Number 6, like National Policy on NIN and SIM registration. Number 7, like National Policy for Visa Installation. Number 8, like National Policy for Virtual Engagement in the federal public institutions, among many others. And all of them are being implemented. My policy brought about the virtual Federal Executive Council in Nigeria during COVID-19. And it brought about even Council of State meeting, National Economic Council meeting, and today it has been institutionalized in Nigeria that virtual engagements are formal. They are no more informal. Any government institution can do virtual engagement and they can formalize it with minutes and attendance and everything. But before it was not. You cannot present as an evidence that this is a formal discussion, but today it is. So this is among many others. Secondly, if you look at all the indices, we have reached the peak. Broadband penetration, we have reached the peak during this era. For example, NIN and SIM registration, in 13 years, the database we inherited was not up to 40 million in the true figures we obtained. In 13 years, from 2007 to 2020 October. But from October to today, that is 22nd September 2020, still 2022, still less than 2 years, we have increased almost 50 million. But we, less than 2 years, 50 million, but we inherited less than 40 in 13 years. And this with lack of funding. No any significant funding given to us. We are only driving it the way it was given to us. And we know digital ID is key, not only to security, to economic development, to education, to health, to whatever you do in your country, you need national ID. That is why there is no any responsible country in the whole world without making a national ID or any form of ID as mandatory, like social security number in the US, national insurance number, social security in the US, national insurance number in the UK, among many others. This is the peak. When it comes to remittance to government, look at what we have been remitting.
Yeah.
In certain areas, we increase revenue generation by over 500%. That is why government institutions that are lazy, they don't. If they want to generate revenue, they will come to our sector. That is why they are overtaxing the sector, and that is why we rejected the 5%, the proposed 5% excise duty, because there is no tax in agriculture. You are paying subsidy that cannot be justifiable, and you want to come and kill the only sector that has been very vibrant. The entire VAT collected in Nigeria in 2021, MTN alone, only MTN alone, contributed 13.5% to the entire VAT of Nigeria. Only MTN, not to talk of Airtel, Glo, 9Mobile and others, not to talk of ICT companies, only MTN. Look at what we remitted to government recently through 5G spectrum auction. Initially, it was through administrative assignment. It was proposed at 70 million USD per spectrum. I said, no, let us go and auction it so that we encourage competition. From 70 million per spectrum, we did an auction openly on television. At the end, each one was over 250 million USD. From 70 million to 250 something million USD per spectrum. And we remitted the money to government, all. So it's the same. When it comes to capacity building, it is the same. Even through our virtual institutions, we train over 500,000 Nigerians in the area of emerging technology today. ICT centers, as of today, from the time I took over today, we have executed from start to finish over 2,000 ICT intervention projects in Nigeria. There is no single state in Nigeria where I don't have 10 major projects today. No single state. This is among many, many others.
Wow. My Honorable Minister, I want to believe that we have much more to talk about, but time is a constraint. We like to appreciate you for your time, your audience, and always welcoming us with open arms whenever we call for an engagement. Thank you so much, and we wish you the very best for the rest of your tenure as minister and greater success in life. Thank you very much.
It is my pleasure, my friends. Thank you. Glad to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my minister.
It is my pleasure, Hilary.
Yes, sir. Honorable Minister, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay.